Hey everybody, I'm Kyle.
And I'm Haley.
And this is our first van life Q&A.
So we've been on the road for a little over 2 weeks now. This is our van right behind us here. And we had reached out to our family and friends
To know what did you want to know about how our van life is going. So this video is going to be our best attempt to give you an answer that feels good. Claire, Lisa, and Linda want to know the big question. How do we use the restroom and how do we shower while living van life?
Great, I'll take a stab at it. Excellent question. So for the bathroom, we like to use public facility or friends' places if we're visiting friends or family. But if not, then we often will go outside, in the wilderness here. So go to the bathroom, take a squat if we have to go pee. But let's say we're in a city or just in an area where we can't go to the bathroom outside, or we don't want to go outside at night, then we have this little kit here. And so there is this little urinal here, and so we can use it in the van. A little adapter here for me, and so it's easier for me to go to the bathroom. Kyle doesn't have this. And so put it on there, and then afterwards we will clean both of these, make sure they're extra clean.
We try not to use it too often, as Haley said, because we don't want that hanging out in the van all the time.
Yeah. And then, if we do need to go to the bathroom outside, which we've done a couple times, and I'm talking about number 2. So we have this little shovel here, and so we will out and dig a hole, preferably 6 inches, not by water streams. That's not good.
Leave no trace principles.
Leave no trace principles. We also have, there's some wet wipes here if we need them, but we have toilet paper, and again, we'll pack the toilet paper out unless it's like biodegradable toilet paper, which this one isn't, so we'll take it back, wrap it up, put it in a bag to throw out there. And then after we go number 2, we'll just cover the hole, and I often like to put like a little rock on top so people know that that's where I went. Anyway.
Just camping, backpacking, toilet.
Yep, and speaking of that, I think I'm gonna have to go use the bathroom in the... All right, now that that's taken care of, Kyle has one more way to tell you about how we use the restroom. Oh, there he is.
We've got our DIY compost toilet with our Humble Bay Organic Decaf burlap, but it's just a 2.5 gallon bucket that we got, and went and bought this little lid that goes on top of 2.5 5-gallon buckets for a little more comfort. And we have just a compostable bag with some wood chips, sawdust, things like that, some dry material in there, so if we have to use it, the poop goes on top of that. Then we have more that we can pour on top of it to do that. So I have had to use it once. It wasn't the worst experience in the world, but we didn't keep it in the van very long to experiment and see how bad the smell is. That's usually what most people want to do. Supposedly if there's good aeration, ventilation, and you cover it up, it can keep it not too stinky, but we haven't really kept it in the van very long. But it's not the greatest because it is a lot of waste, even though we have compostable stuff. But it's an emergency thing for backup. One in terms of how we shower is very similar to what Haley said. We've been visiting a lot of people the first few weeks, so we're showering at their places every few days, which is a little bit longer than normal, but normally we don't take a shower every day, so that's okay, unless we're really stinky and stuff like that. But friends and family when we're visiting, but we also just got a Planet Fitness membership, so we've been going there, and we have one membership with Black Card membership. Haley's the owner of that, so I get to be her guest. We can go to any location across the country, only like $22 a month. and visit as many times, so there's no limit.
It's pretty cool.
So that's been good. So we can kind of pick cities that have Planet Fitnesses and go and shower. This week we've been in a town that has Planet Fitness, so we've had a few more showers more regularly.
Yay.
But also, if we're out here, we do have wipes and stuff like that we can use, or we use washcloths to kind of just wipe up our faces and armpits and stuff like that to keep a little clean. Oh, and one more. The last option to take a shower we have is this basically camping solar shower.
Thanks to my friend Maureen.
Yep, thanks Maureen. Before we left, we went and had dinner with her, and she gifted us this. Haven't used it yet, but basically, like a camping shower, we'll fill it up with water. We can hang it somewhere in the sun. The black will hopefully heat it up, and then we can use this nozzle to drain it over us and shower that way. So, haven't used it yet, but that's another option. So that's how we use the restroom and shower on the road. Max wanted to know what's something we forgot to pack or install with us that we realized this first 2 weeks.
Well, I don't know if you can tell here, but it is pretty windy. And we cooked some yummy dal tonight. But the thing is something that we really should have brought is a wind shield.
Windshield, windscreen for our little backpacking stove that we use sometimes for quick meals. So we do have the camp stove that has its built-in one, but our little backpacking ones don't. So that's something we definitely thought.
And something that I forgot was a canvas so I could paint on it. So I ended up actually picking it back up when we came through Humboldt briefly, and I was able to get it.
Yep.
So.
And then the next one was, what's something we've had too much of? You want to know?
Clothes and just everything.
Feels like everything. Definitely some clothes. We have too much food, which we knew. Too much kitchen stuff because we want to be trying kitchen-y, but it's tough. We have a lot of food too because we didn't want to get rid of stuff in our pantry.
Yeah, who wants to throw away food you bought, right?
And didn't really have time to donate our stuff, but so we have a lot of food we're trying to work on and replenishing all our fresh stuff. So clothes and food mostly, also some kitchen appliances.
Still want to get rid of a lot more.
Yeah. So that's what we got for that one.
All right, next question is from Molly, and that is, what is the scariest thing that's happened to you?
Me?
Yeah.
Scariest thing was a few things, but when I was driving, I had to make a sharp left turn, and a bunch of stuff fell off the cabinet, a bunch of jars, and even your pot fell, unfortunately cracked. Glued it back together, but that was pretty scary, everything banging around. It was like day 2 of our trip. And then just the other day, our water faucet decided to not turn off. So that was very scary.
That was a little scary. Yeah, for both of us. It was like, we're in the middle of the wilderness and Mount Hood, and our water just wouldn't turn off.
We didn't have a water source, so we disconnected it. We figured it out. It's working now. But yeah,
it's
those
probably
are
a
some
couple of scariest things.
Yeah, nothing with animals or people, so far. So.
That's good.
So Julia wants to know, what's the biggest surprise so far about living in a van?
Good question. I think the biggest is just kind of the discomfort of, I guess, feeling in the van because we hadn't quite built shelves for everything and haven't organized, and so there was a lot of like stuff everywhere, like extra stuff that didn't have a place, and I was like, oh, we'll just figure it out on the road, right?
We thought we'd feel more comfortable with the chaos, so
Yeah. So it's been a lot of shifting to get to things, so with just stuff not being super convenient or accessible, it's been really challenging, and just things like moving and the space, just like with the two of us in the van too, with the amount of things, so just trying to sort that out. But I think the biggest surprise, which is a little unfortunate, is that just like probably about a day or two after, I started feeling like I had a sore throat, and I thought, oh, am I getting like COVID symptoms? No. But I've had a sore throat and like an itchy throat, and sometimes even chest, and I was like, why, do I have that? And what came to me is that perhaps I'm allergic to wool, and our van is all insulated in wool.
Yeah, pretty sure Haley's having allergic reactions with the throat stuff and to the wool, because it's the worst in the morning when you wake up, and then as
evenings.
we get outside of the van during the day, you're better. So
yeah, whenever I hang out, so hopefully we still have parts that we want to cover up with burlap, some like holes, but hopefully that'll help. So that was the biggest surprise, because I'm not really allergic to anything that I'm aware of, except maybe wool, which our whole van's insulated with.
So surprises are your reaction to the wool and your discomfort with just all the chaos.
Yeah.
I knew that was gonna be rough, but yeah. So those are surprises from the first 2 weeks, biggest ones.
Yeah.
Roger wants to know a couple questions. First, he asked, what has been the most challenging thing for living in the van?
Honestly, I think it's the space. We live in a really tiny space, and everything has been kind of disorganized since the beginning, but we're slowly organizing things. And so again, like I've said previously, it's a lot of shifting around, but just like not having the space, and like waking up and sometimes not being able to sit up straight. And if I'm just in the van too much, I just need to get out. And so like finding the space to also not be in each other's space is challenging.
In terms of space, shuffling around, finding your own space in the van. Like we do have some of our own personal like cubbies and stuff like that, where we have our own stuff, but it's hard to kind of get your niche and find your own space in the van, because if somebody wants to go in one spot, hey, can you move? I need to do this for a little bit. So it's kind of like, can I have the van for a little bit? Has been a challenging thing. Next part to Roger's question was, what is something we miss the most?
I would say I really miss the garden that I used to have, and being able to go in the garden and just pick stuff that I grew and cook it right away. And I still have a couple things, but soon they will be gone, so a little sad. But I miss, obviously I miss a lot of things and people and places, but furries and humans for the garden. But what about you?
Yeah, definitely miss our friends, miss my apartment. I miss having my recliner that I can just pop on and relax in. I miss reliable Wi-Fi. I miss my dog Calvin and a lot of my friends. But I do miss being able to go to the restroom without having to put my clothes on.
Big one.
Every morning. I mean, we do have the stuff that we can go in the van, but we try and save those for emergencies, so we don't do that a lot. So even in an ideal situation, we're parked somewhere where there's a restroom, we have to get up, put clothes on to go outside. So it's more jarring. So yeah, I definitely miss just going to the bathroom in my own home.
Next question. So Vanessa wanted to know, what have we learned internally and externally so far?
Good question. Externally, I think the biggest thing I've learned the first couple weeks in the van was some electrical stuff, because some of the things that broke and gave us issues and had to figure out, like we're learning how to replace the cigarette outlet or auxiliary port, power port in the dash of the van. So learned how to do that. Internally, I think for me, the biggest thing I've learned is how important me time is. Know that it's important, but I'm pretty social, and have enjoy being around people. But it's been hard getting me time in the van. We've talked about that. Haley definitely loves her me time.
Yeah.
So I've learned that it's really important for me in terms of staying cool and not feeling overwhelmed, not getting cranky. So yeah, externally electrical, internally I think our me time.
Outdoors Bay wanted to know what's one upgrade we already want to make.
Well, we've kind of already made one upgrade. We added 3 inches of more foam to our bed to make it a little more comfortable. And that's been working really good, definitely helping more for me. The setup for Haley was fine for her, but I'm a lot bigger. I needed a little more cushion.
An upgrade that we still want to make is our solar. So we want a more permanent solar setup, because right now we're having to take it, put it up, take it down, have it connected.
We opted for the portable battery solar setup because with all this, the learning curve, that was one beast I didn't want to tackle. Knew we definitely paid more. We bought an EcoFlow Pro with 160 watt panel. The portability is really nice because we can take it out and charge it in multiple ways. For stopped and sitting, we have to set it out. And it is nice that it's portable because we can kind of move it with the sun a little bit, but it is a little bit of a pain to set it up. And then if we leave, we know it's not permanently attached, so we're a little more anxious about that. We're finding a better rhythm and it's working better, but definitely upgrading our solar and battery would be good too, because we basically could have a lot more bang for our buck in terms of battery storage if we do that. So that's an upgrade we wish we had, so it was less on our mind in terms of setting it up. How much battery capacity do we have? We're doing good and we don't use it a ton. The main thing we use for is the refrigerator, but that's an upgrade we definitely would like and appreciate to have.
Yeah.
And like they said, we know it's going to be an ongoing thing. We're always going to be thinking and wanting a next upgrade. Mari wants to know how well we are able to eat veggies while on the road during van life.
Well, we are here right now at the farmer's market outside of Bend, and there are some fresh fruits and veggies. So we've definitely been trying to find some farmers markets. We were at Point Reyes, and there's a farmers market there.
Yeah.
And
Second one.
yeah, so we got some fresh fruits and veggies. You can see this array of fresh fruits. The packaging too is all paper, so that's really nice. When we hit the road, for those of you that know, I've had a huge garden, and so before I left, I picked a whole bunch of veggies, so we've been stocked up, and it's been really nice to cook some at friends' houses we could, or even inside our van.
Yep.
So we were gone for a little bit, and we ended up coming back to Humboldt, and I got to restock up on some veggies from the garden.
Yep.
And anything to add?
No, yeah, I mean, for context, like Haley's firm vegetarian, kind of also does some vegan. I'm not vegetarian, but we mostly eat vegetarian, so having veggies is basically kind of standard. But because Haley's stuff from the garden, and then visiting some friends, some farmers markets, and then just kind of growing to some natural grocery stores, we've been able to try to keep veggies as a staple, and fruits.
Yeah. And what's really great is that we have a refrigerator / freezer in our van,
Yes.
so we've been able to keep it fresh, some of the kale and different greens too. So.
Yeah. So that's how we're getting our veggies and on the road. Another food question. Naomi wanted to know, or she wants to know, how well we feel we're eating while living van life.
I would say we're still eating pretty good. I know to answer the question for Mari about the fresh fruits and veggies and like trying to get farmers market, we can, but it is really hard to find bulk foods on the road. Obviously with the pandemic it was hard, with not being able to fill up bulk, but even still, like being in Oregon, it's not super common, so we're trying to buy bulk and farmers market when we can, but we're still trying to eat as healthy as possible and eating some meals out, but it's not the regular. So we're eating still lots of fresh fruits and veggies, but I definitely just being like striving towards zero waste, definitely having to buy more, a little bit more stuff in packaging, like bread and tortillas and yogurt and some other protein sources, because we can't like make everything like we did before, but we're eating pretty good.
Typically, we eat pretty well, very fresh. Haley had a garden that we would eat from. We would go to farmers markets or natural food stores and co-ops locally, ate mostly organic, and also another lens that Haley was talking about is like trying to do waste reduction. We would get a lot of bulk food or things with compostable packaging, things that we have known and were privileged to have in our hometown area. That's a lot tougher on the road. And then Naomi wanted to follow up with are we able to keep an Ayurvedic perspective? So Naomi's a classmate of mine in my Ayurvedic program. And to be honest, not really, but kinda. Even before we were traveling, I was not the greatest at it. The kinda is because like I do always have my mind on that. We're trying to eat seasonally, but in terms of like a good Ayurvedic diet that's very like tailored to maybe like our doshas and the season and stuff, haven't been able to really do that a ton. But I do have the Mom's Masala Spice, which my coach recommended for the road, which is very good for digestion. So I've been sprinkling that on a lot of things, and it tastes good. And then Naomi also wanted to know about our sleeping habits. How have those been going?
Well, it's been an adjustment. We sleep diagonal because even though we built out the van in the back.
I technically fit like laying straight in the bed. The bed's horizontal. It's probably too dark to see, and there's a bunch of stuff on it.
We'll give you two of those soon.
But it works better, more comfortable if I can lay diagonally. So we've been doing that. But our habits in terms of, it's tough with the summer because it's sunny so late. We have been going to bed late. We've been eating a little bit later than we'd like to, which kind of tails into that. So, and sometimes because we've been on the road so much, we've been finding our home for the night, 8, 9, sometimes 10 o'clock at night. So sleeping habits are definitely affected. And for me too, like, when we're stealth sleeping like in the city, we put the window covers up for privacy, and that blocks off the natural light, so I feel like I'm waking up later, not with a natural light, so I don't like that as much. But
also like getting out in and out of the van too, like having to go to the bathroom at night, it's kind of like having to open the door and then slam it and then slam it, so it's a little different than just having to kind of creep into a room and go to the bathroom.
Yeah, it's more jarring to wake up in the middle of the night to have to use the restroom in the van.
Yeah, and we've also kind of going back to just like sleeping diagonal, but we've had to change out our bedding a couple of times just to make it more comfortable. So we've had to switch out different types of foam firmness.
Mattresses, yeah.
So it kind of worked because Kyle's a little bigger, so he can feel the bottom, and so we've kind of switched it out a few times now. We've actually changed out the bedding to make it work for us too. So it's been a transition.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more in like one of the upgrades and stuff we've done, but have changed some of the foam mattresses to be a little more comfortable for me. I think find one that's about as good as it's gonna get. So, and it's better than we started. So thanks Naomi for the questions, and hopefully those are good answers for you. So Russell asked a really great question of how has van life changed our relationship?
Well, we just to preface, like, we bought the van last March, and so just like making that decision, I think, was the beginning of a change in our relationship. We've been working on the van here and there on the weekends for months, and having to make decisions, opening up a bank account together, every little decision along the way, to like what wood, to shelving, to how we want to design the space. So that's kind of changed, having to check in with each other even more. And then, Kyle moved out of his place at the end of May, and he moved into mine, and so we were living together for the first time too for a month. And so it was like him moving in, moving out, moving in, and kind of meshing our stuff together, sorting it, which was a lot, stressful at times, a lot of boxes everywhere, and then basically having to, you know, move out of my place and then into our van and figuring out what stuff we were going to store in our little 5x10 storage unit. We've been together now on the road for 3 weeks as of today. And so it's been 7 weeks, and definitely noticed, you know, we had a few times there was like a few hours here and there one night when we were still living together at my place alone, but we haven't really had any like alone time fully in weeks. And so we've kind of noticed like some frustration and irritability, like,
and we don't get our space. So
don't get our space.
It's tough with the van, so trying to take advantage of that, like our morning routines, we'll do our own thing, we'll check in less. But yeah, for me, our van life has made our relationship more interdependent, like Haley was saying, with the account, just making a lot of decisions together. Still keeping our independence and keeping our alone time. We're still finding the rhythm of that. So
yeah, still trying to find the balance.
We talked the other day about how like it is tough when we both share the same vehicle, which is our home.
Right.
You kind of have to go places together. It would be great to have bikes and like have it parked, and then somebody could ride around if we're in a town or something. So it's something we want to get in the future. But yeah, so it's definitely bringing us closer through the interdependence, and it's, you know, that closeness has created a little friction that we've been managing.
Right, but hopefully we'll have some alone time soon. Yeah, we've just noticed what works so far too is maybe not necessarily constantly checking in with each other, because we want to know though, like, how are you doing? We're, you know, empathetic in that way, compassionate, of like wanting to have each other's needs met, but just kind of doing what we want in the morning and kind of doing our own little routines has been helpful too. So,
but it's brought us closer. Yeah. So definitely growing experience. Yeah.
So Roxanne wanted to know how van life was different than we envisioned, and as well as how we envisioned it.
I think the biggest way that it hasn't been like we envisioned has been not actually running into or having conversations with many van people in the first few weeks. We see a lot of vans on the road, obviously, and I didn't expect to have a ton of friends right away, but I kind of expected to at least like have more conversations. Part of that's just the way we've been traveling. We've been moving a lot. We have been also staying with friends and family most of the first 2 weeks, and we've been getting to our spots late and staying there and leaving in the morning. So we've been really mobile. So, but we have started to have some conversations this past week with a few people we saw on trail, and then like where we were kind of staying here in Bend. But that I think would be the biggest thing, different than I expected. I kind of expected it to be a little bit more communal.
I didn't envision how much we have to sweep in the van. It's a constant. So, but good thing we have a little broom and a little brush. So having more, I guess, time to like spread out a little bit more. Like we've used our awning, I think, only once, and just being able to get it out. But it's not super easy to get in and out actually. So, and we're not always in a spot where we can just kind of like, you know, spread out big. So
yeah, we've only dispersed camp one night, and we had it set up. So
right. And what about how we envisioned?
How we have envisioned is like I heard and saw from a lot of videos that you're sweeping constantly, so I expected that. Things falling constantly, breaking constantly, moving things around constantly. So I envisioned that, but living it is still frustrating and stressful. So there's a lot of those things I think of. I envisioned it being challenged, but you don't really know what you don't know until you do it. So kind of envisioned it, but can't really envision it. So those are some of the things I would
I envisioned being able to hike up mountains such as where we are right now. This is our first peak that we've climbed so far on the trip, and I envisioned kind of like being able to climb peaks even in the summer, waking up early. So we woke up at 3:30 and here we are, this beautiful mountain area. So this is one thing I envisioned on the trip too. So yeah, we're watching our just a vision board coming to life.
So that concludes our first van life Q&A video.
Thanks all for your questions. I know it was kind of a lengthy video, but we wanted to make sure to get to all of your questions. So thanks for hanging with us.
Yeah, we had both a fun and stressful time answering the questions and filming them. We'll try and put some bloopers in there for you, but we appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.
Just... Is this a photo?
Okay. And like, huh?
I said that. Yeah.
What?
I'm visiting a lot of people, or visiting friends, and that's okay.
A little bit longer.
Yeah. See y'all.
See.
Followers.